Hello, my dear friends, and today we are going to see letters which can be tricky or confusing for foreigners, especially for English speakers. They can be tricky or confusing because they look exactly the same or very similar with English letters, but they have different sound. We call these letters false friends of translator. Let's see them. Our first letter is A. It looks exactly the same like English letter A, but it doesn't have sound A. It has sound A. Let's see our examples. Адрес, alligator, агент. Our next letter is letter V. Very tricky because looks exactly the same like English letter B. That will not have sound B. That is V. Our examples are вода, водка, видео. Next letter is letter G. Can be confusing because it looks like English R. That is not R, that is G. Let's see our examples. Гимнастка, гарнир, галерея. Next couple of letters is D and A. Some people can be surprised why are they confusing, but a lot of my students really mix them, really confuse them. At first glance they look a little bit similar, but you see that actually they are different. On the left we have D and on the right we have A. And with letter D we have such examples. Доктор, darts, директор. And if we have letter A, we will have актер, аэропорт, акробатка. Our next letter is letter E. In English this letter is called E, but in Russian is E. This letter is called E. Be careful, that's not E, this is E. Европа, Евро, Евросоюз. Next letter is letter Z. This letter is tricky, one of the trickiest in Russian language for English speakers. In English, there is no such letter. In English, the closest letter is G, but it's not exactly the same. In Russian, we don't have letter G, we have only Z. Some of my students call letter Z buggy letter, and that can help you to remember this letter, how this letter looks and how to pronounce it. If you look carefully, you see that letter Z looks like a bug. It has 6 legs and it also has similar sound, zh, zh, like a bug. And we have such examples. Жакет, жест, инженер. The closest pronunciation in English is in word инженер in Russian and engineer in English. Our next letter is letter E. A lot of people confuse this letter with English letter N, but look carefully. It looks backwards. It is like in the mirror. It's not the same. So this has sound E. Интернет, идея, импорт. Our next pair of letters is L and P. They are very similar and it's easy to confuse them. But please look carefully. Letter P has 2 straight lines. On the right side we see 2 straight lines. And letter L has like little tail on the left side. And sometimes this tail can be really little. That depends on font which people use. So be careful. Check carefully if there is this little tail or this is just straight line. If it's straight line, that's letter P. And our examples are laser, list, limon. When we talk about letter P, also a lot of people confuse this with English N. And it's true that even in this type of font it looks a little bit similar, but sometimes that letter can look exactly the same like English letter N. In some types of phones on computer, this letter can really look like English N. Be careful, that will be sound P. Our examples are palma, panika, park. Our next letter is letter N. Big letter N looks exactly the same like English H. Be careful, it is not H, it is N. And we have such examples. Нервный, нос, нормальный. Next letter is letter R. It looks exactly the same like English P. Be careful, that will not make sound P, that is R. Also, Russian letter R is different from English R. That sounds more like Spanish. R, R, R. Our examples are radio, radar, ресторан. Next letter is letter S. Yes, it is S, it is not C, like in English. In Russian, this letter called S. And sometimes people want to call it C or pronounce it like K, especially in the beginning of word, because it happens in English, like in English word cat, for example. But in Russian, it doesn't happen. And we have such examples. Soup, saxophone, salad. Next letter is letter U. A lot of people tend to pronounce it like E because that's what happens in English in the end of words, right? In Russian, not. In Russian, that's letter U. Университет, ураган, Украина. Letter H. It looks exactly the same like English X or like in mathematics X. But in Russian, it's letter H. Be careful, not X, not X, H. We have such examples. Hit, house, Harley. Our last letter is letter Ya. Be careful, it looks like English R, but once again, it's not exactly the same. You see, it is backwards, it is like in the mirror, it is Ya. Yachta. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope this lesson was useful for you and see you soon in my next videos. Please subscribe and give thumbs up. See you soon. Bye.